Hey everybody, I am back and I am ready to continue working on this game here. Let's see, it's been a while. It's been a few days, almost a week, probably exactly a week since I've been working on this. So I need to run it and kind of remember where I was. Yeah, I got that bug. I got terrain that generates as you get to the edge. Guy walking around. Yeah, so it looks like I got a lot, but it's really not that much. Really just barely have anything in this game yet. So what I need to do, I'm going to go ahead and take this off of here, but then I definitely need to put that, make terrain generation better. And what I mean by that is when I run, or when I get to the edge of this terrain, it kind of pauses, it lags before it generates the other terrain, which is to be perfectly expected because I did zero optimization. I really just put the first thing that I thought of down into the project and just see if I could get it working, which I did. And so now it's easier to just go back and improve and optimize rather than try to build it beautifully from the get-go. So next, oh, you know what I need to do actually? I ran this on my laptop and I had a bug where it worked fine. I mean, it ran perfectly fine with the exception of everything being rendered as dots, right? Instead of solid triangles so that you can see it. Everything was a dot. So I looked up how to fix that, and it's actually a really simple problem. I guess I can put it here where I set the blend state. There's this function inside of the D3D11 context here called, I don't know what it's called, something with topology in it. I could just use the autocomplete here. Yeah, IA set primitive topology. And that just takes one parameter of one of these D3D11. Whoops. Um, yeah, one of these primitive topology things, and I want to set it to triangle list. And that's going to have zero effect on this code here because it was working fine. And it just depends on what graphics driver you're using, because my laptop obviously has a different graphics card and therefore different graphics drivers. So the way it decides to do things by default is just different sometimes. So by default, it was rendering everything as dots, but this driver renders everything as triangles by default. But just to give you an idea, if I change this to point list, then you'll see how my laptop was rendering it. Like this was the default setting for the game on my laptop, right? And then I think you can do like line list too to do like a wireframe kind of deal. Yeah. So you probably do something different so that it's not drawing lines from the feet to the hands or whatever. But anyway, yeah. So that was one thing I wanted to fix. Put that back to triangle list, and then another thing that was happening on my laptop, which is not happening here. Whoops, let me recompile this. Is when I go to generate the new terrain. So when this length here gets to 32, that's the way I have it coded right now. Whoops, what's going on? When it gets to 32, that's when it decides to generate the next section of terrain. And so here it's fine. Like the character stays where he's supposed to and keeps on going. But again, on my laptop, there's this bug where when it generates the new terrain, the character completely disappears. And if I go to debug mode and then back, he reappears. But then if I go to generate more terrain, he disappears again. So I think I haven't really done any sort of investigative work to figure out what the problem is. But if I had to guess, my theory is the fact that I'm mapping things twice. I'm mapping the vertex buffer twice. So every frame I'm mapping to the buffer to update the player, the character animations. And then when the player gets to a certain part, when the length between the center of the terrain to the player's current position is greater than 32, that's when you generate more terrain, and I'm mapping to the buffer again for the second time for that frame. And I think on this driver, it's fine. The mapping to the buffer twice per frame goes to the same memory, but depending on what driver you have. On a different driver, it probably will use different memory, and so it'll overwrite things and whatever. So anyway, the whole point I'm trying to make is that I shouldn't be doing it. I shouldn't be mapping to the buffer twice per frame. I should just do it once per frame, no matter what. So that is what I'm going to do next, is try to set this up so that it only maps the buffer once per frame, the vertex buffer that is. And so what I'm going to do is, as part of my game state, I'm going to make a float pointer probably here. And I will call this textured mesh vertex. Get the R in there. Pointer. That's a really long variable name. Alright, so the game state will have a pointer to the vertex buffer, and every time I go to update the game state, before I update the game state, I'm going to tell the game state where the memory is to the vertex buffer. So I'm basically going to map it once at the beginning of the frame and then unmap it at the end of the frame before I render all the stuff. Hoping that makes sense. Yeah, so I need to get the code to map stuff. So actually what it is, let me see here. Update, no. Do I have anything called update? Yeah, update. Thought it was called. Okay. Pretty much just need this code right here is what I'm trying to get at here. So here we're going to map the vertex buffer, no override I believe is what I would like, and then make sure I unmap it. Alright, and then so what we're going to do is say that the game states vertex textured mesh vertex pointer is equal to a float representation of vert data dot pdata. There we go. And then so now the game state can write to the data and it'll get unmapped here. So that means I now need to put some code in the game state to update the animation and also update the terrain vertices. So let's do that. Let's see. So this function here, so it's kind of this whole thing except for I don't need to do any of the mapping or unmapping and that. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do, so I have add textured mesh to buffer, right? Yeah, here we go. So I'm gonna make in here in the game state static void add animated mesh to buffer. Do I have, yeah, I have update mesh animation here. So this is going to take the game state, animated mesh, and then all this stuff too. Alright, so then that function is this, basically. Let me just copy it all and delete what I don't need. Okay, so we got to get all this stuff here, the matrices, all of that. Okay, so VDAT is going to now equal the game state's textured mesh for text pointer. And so all of that should be good. I think I could just get rid of that. And then this should just be state. This should be mesh is mesh, position, scale, orientation. I think that's it. Does it compile? It do. Animated mesh to buffer. Okay, so that's that. And then I also need to update textured mesh vertices. I need to kind of pass this along over to the game state as well. Let's update textured mesh vertices. So this is going to take the game state as well. Update textured mesh vertices. Yeah, so I don't need to do the mapping. I need to just kind of do the exact same thing I had up here. Just be faster to retype it. So that's state texture mesh for text pointer. Okay, so then that's gonna go up by the offset, copy everything over. We do not need to unmap anything. That should be it. I think that's all. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, so yeah, I think I just need to take out the parts where I'm using the OS code and replace it with this game state code. And we should be good. We should be in business. So once I do that, render animated mesh, I'm going to call push, or add, is it add? Animated mesh to buffer, yes. We're going to pass in the game state. We're going to pass in, that's what I want to say. Players mesh. And yeah, all of this stuff. Oh my goodness, it still works. Now when I do that, it's still running the other code, so I need to here, this. So the pixels are fine, it still needs to happen, but here what I'm going to do is say update textured mesh vertices, passing in the game state, and the vertices, yeah, which is on the temp storage buffer. No, hold on. Storage, there it is. Temp memory buffer, and then the vert size is this 256 times 256 times 8 times. Is that right? 8, I think so. Update texture mesh versus not take 3 arguments. How many does it take? Textured mesh vertices. Oh yeah, I need to know what mesh. Wait. Oh yeah. The state terrain dot mesh. I think I need the address of that. There we go. Okay, so it compiles, it runs, and it still works. So again, nothing would have been different here anyway, because everything was already working as you would expect on this computer, but I just now need to run it on my laptop to see. But either way, it was something that needed to be done anyway. I didn't need to actually do this stuff here. I didn't need to have the game call back to the OS, is what I'm trying to say, for this stuff. So I think I can get rid of these functions here. Let's see, where is it? Render animated mesh. So yeah, I don't need to do that. that's going to take care of itself. And update texture mesh vertices. So let me get rid of those and get rid of them here. Nope. Update texture mesh vertices and render animated mesh. Okay, does that still work? Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So, yeah, cool. That's nothing really on my to-do list. That was just some miscellaneous stuff I wanted to fix. But now what I think I want to fix is this bug here. The crazy twitching skybox thunderous effect bug that I got. And I tried to troubleshoot that a little bit, very, very little bit in the past. And I think, yeah, so fix skybox twitching, most likely the matrix forward to quaternion. So here in my math library, this function I've decided is way too short. Not complex enough is what I'm going to say. It's only accounting for like 25% of the cases or something like that. Probably more, but that, I don't know. Anyway, so I need to kind of beef this up a little bit. So this code I'm running here, I only want to do that if this is greater than 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a function here called, or not a function, a variable called sum. And kind of pull that apart there. And then so this again is only going to happen if sum is greater than 0. So if sum is positive, we want to do all this. Oops. Cool. So that's one case, but then else, if that is not greater than 0, then I need to actually consider a bunch of different things here. So if this is not greater than 0, then I need to basically figure out which one of these is the largest. Is this one larger, that one, or that one? So else if mat m.2 is greater than this one, and if this is greater than this one. So if that's the case, I need to do something. Else if 1 is greater than 2, then I need to do something. And then one final else would mean that this one is the largest one in the group, and then I need to do something for that case. But what I need to do is a completely different issue. I don't know off the top of my head what that would be. But let me try to think about this here. So if I have... So I kind of like want to do the opposite of this here. So if that's the case, so okay, well let me do this. I know I definitely want to set q.x, y, z, and w to something. Oops. There we go. Stop doing that. There we go. And then I'm going to return that. So if this is the case, if the first diagonal is the largest, then this is going to be special here. So I'm getting the square root of 1 plus sum, but I need to get something different here. I'm going to say f32. This isn't really qw though. It's just, I'll just call it qq because variable names are hard. And that's going to equal the square root of 1 plus Oh, jeez. Okay, so if this is the greatest one, so I want this to get positive because I'm going to take in the square root. So I want to take this, but I want to subtract this one and then add this one, right? But then, no, I want to multiply that by 2. Why do I want to multiply that by 2? 1 plus the sum times 0.5. Yeah, because it's like, this is multiplied by 4, and this is multiplied by 2. So that should be good. Yeah, so then I want to multiply that. I want to divide that by 4. Right? Yeah, so this would be QQ divided by 4, well, I guess times 0.25. And then, so these now are going to be really tricky. So divided by that. So it's very similar to this here. Let me copy all of this. Except for instead of dividing by this, I'm going to divide by QQ. So I just need to figure out what these numbers would be. And I don't think they're the same. Let me see. So if the x is there, wait, so then the y would be 1, 0, 0, 1, right? And then 2, 0, 0, 1. 2, 0, there is 2, 0, 0, 2. And then the w would then be 1, 2, 2, 1. I have no idea. Okay, I'm going to copy all of this over here, put it down here, and then I'm going to modify everything. So this is going to then switch. So this is going to be 1, 1 minus 0, 0 plus 2, 2. All that's going to stay the same, but then this is going to now be the y. And then this is going to be the x, but I got to change the numbers again to something. Okay. Okay, let me think about this. 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 1. That can't be right. So it'd have to be 2, I think. I don't know. We're gonna try it. Alright, let's try this one last one here. And then, so this is Q2. So this has got to be now 2, 2 minus 0, 0 plus 1, 1. Then the z is now going to be this one. Okay, so then I got to figure out what these numbers would be. That is x. 0, 2, 2, 1, 0, 2. This would be 1, 0, 0, 1. I don't know. I'm gonna try that. I don't know if this is gonna work at all. Okay, yeah, definitely not. Okay, so yeah, I gotta. No, so something's not right. Let me think here. Let me Google. Let me go back to that site that I found that original code from. What was it? Matrix to quaternion. Euclidean space. Two, one, 1, 2. Oh, my stuff's always backwards from this site though. 1, 0. Zero, 0, minus 1, 1. Okay, I got this wrong here. So this is plus. This is always minus. With the 1 plus there. Okay. Yeah, because that makes sense. You want it to be positive. So let's see. Hopefully that's all the problem it was. Looks good now. Hey, seems like it's okay. Alright, let me test that a little bit more in depth, but I think that's good. I think I got it. Oh, no, it's still wigging out here a little bit. It's when yeah, it's twitching right there. Let me go back here to. I think I just got this backwards here. So this should be 0, 1, 1, 0. And yeah, I think that might be it. Nope. Still twitching. Okay. Not it quite. So let's see. What else can it be? 2 to 1. Plus that, minus that, minus that. W is 2, 1. Alright, X we got here. 1, 0, 0, 1. Y is that? C, 1, 2. 2, 1, 1, 2. W 0, 2, 2, 0, 2, 0, 0, 2. Oh, you know, some of these are plus, some are minus. I just realized that. So this should be, so X, and then Y and Z are plus. That makes sense. And then here we got plus for these two. So yeah, whenever it's not W, it's plus. W is always minus. Okay, that's my problem. I hope. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay, and then not twitching here. Skybox looks consistent when I move hand around. All right, that looks good. I think I'm going to call that complete for now, at least as far as I can tell. So let's cross that out. Yay, okay. Figure out why I need to invert the terrain normals. Oh, I already fixed that. I don't need to invert those anymore. Okay, yeah, I think I want to just start kind of tacking away at this list here, and then I can start working on the game proper, not the actual engine. Or at least start making steps towards where I can make the game. So what do I want to do now? So I think bug fix make the, so that'll come up soon. Yeah, I gotta fix that. Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna start with the instance rendering. Not really sure how. I'm gonna try to do it without making a whole new renderer. I think I do have to make a new shader though. Let me look at my textured mesh renderer. So yeah, one thing, okay, so let me just put everything I know I'm going to need. So I need a vertex buffer, but I need a second vertex buffer. I'm going to call this instance vertex buffer. Yeah, and I think I do need another vertex shader, a separate one. Instance vertex shader. Input layout, that's going to just use the same. I think that might be all I need to add here. Let me append to my file for the textured mesh shader. There it is. Okay, so I've done this in OpenGL. I've never done this in DirectX before, so let's see if I can't figure this out. In fact, let me pull up the docs here. Oops. So I know I need to, there's a function called draw index instance, something like that. DirectX 12, draw index instance, here it is. So it's same as what I'm doing now, except for I also provide an instance count and a start instance location, and then it'll draw multiple copies of that mesh. Instancing may extend performance, blah, blah, blah. One example, I know what it's for. Instancing requires multiple vertex buffers. I thought so. At least one per vertex data and one per instance data. Second buffer is needed only if the input layout that you use elements uses the per instance data. So let me see. So here in a vertex input, and then let me go back to where I'm actually setting up the textured mesh renderer. Here we go. So here's my layout descriptor, and so here's input per vertex data. So I need to set up a few, or probably one or more of these, and set them to per instance data, and then I need to attach that here. So I think for each instance, and I don't know if this is the best way, probably not, nothing I come up with firsthand is the best way seemingly, but what I'm going to do first of all is just take in a matrix for every instance, and that will just have its transform to know where to put it on the screen. I will call this instance matrix. I will give it a semantic of instance matrix. All right, and that should make the game not run anymore. Yeah, I could not create input layout. And then the lighting's messed up. And that is because I think I now need to add that here. And if it's anything like OpenGL, I can't pass it in as a matrix. I have to do it as 4 separate vector 4s. Let me double check with that. And see. So once I define a DXGI format, is there anything in here about 4x4 or what about matrix? Nothing. 4. Let me just kind of scroll through these. Yeah, I think I gotta do it as 4 separate ones, as 4 separate parameters. So here I need the semantic names. Let me just copy one of these. So the semantic name is instance matrix. The semantic index, and I'm assuming it's going to be like OpenGL, where this is like got 4, it's like an array of 4. So it's going to go from 0 to 1 to 4. RGB32A32 float. There is no offset here, and this is going to be per, oh wait, hold on, one of these needs to change, I think. So the format, and then the input slot is for integer value that identifies the input assembler. Valid, I don't know what that means. It's offset, but number of instances to draw using the same per instance data. So I think that's going to be 1. And then this, I'm thinking that's like what buffer index you're using. Input slot. So I'm going to put that as 1, because these are all using buffer 0. This is going to use a different buffer, so I'm going to put that as 1. And I got to do this 3 more times. And this will be 1, 2, 3. All the same format. These are all using the second buffer per vertex data. And yeah, so I wonder if now, oh, and I also needed to say that this now has 7 attributes. So if I compile it now, is it fine? No, cannot create the input layout. But why? Oh, because I've still had per vertex data. Per instance data, that's what we want. Oh, hey, that worked. Wow, cool. All right, so now let me make another function that will do instance rendering here. I just kind of copy this vertex. I'll call this instance vertex main. It's going to take in the same input. I really think the only difference is instead of using model matrix, it's going to use this instance matrix here. Does that compile? Well, it's not. Of course, it's going to compile. It doesn't compile. Oh, yeah. Input dot. There we go. All right, cool. So let's try to compile that shader. Let's make another blob. D3, wait, D3D blob. All right, and then that should do it. Creating instance. Okay, does this compile now? It does. All right, this is going smoother than I thought. But now I need to fill. Did I make the buffer already? Yes. So now I need to fill that buffer with some data. Let's just do a bunch of random data for now. Oh, you know what I need? I need an actual mesh to render, and I don't think these are good anymore. The Animesh, because those use. In fact, I can delete all of this stuff here. Let me do that. Let me clear out all of these things. Not Animesh. I need text mesh. I think that's old. Cube is old. Debug font. I still need that. High score. Don't really need that. Animdat is good. Squat. So that's no longer good. That's probably okay. Yeah, I need to keep that. Yeah, none of this tentacle stuff is relevant anymore. Text shader. Need that for sure. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to delete all of that stuff. And so now, let me just double check that this still runs. Of course it should. Yeah, so I need to actually update my, what do you call it, exporters. Okay, and then how do I actually see it on there? Oh, there it is. It's already there. Okay. So now scripting, open, local, no, desktop, there we go. Textured mesh exporter. So this has to get updated to use ints, and then that should be 4, and I think that's all I have to do. Let me save the text, so that's there, and then run the script, and then so yeah, now I have 2 of them. I need to actually swap these out at some point, but that should do it. Object to export is Suzanne. The location is desktop, Saguinus. Yes. There we go. Should be in here. Text mesh. There it is. All right. So it should be good now. It should be loading up just fine. Let me go ahead and make some tests here. Yeah, right here. Initializing cannot convert from textured mesh to texture mesh pointer because I put a star when I didn't need to. Okay, so that's loading up just fine, and then so now what I want to do is let's just make a function, little quick dinky function here that would do this. Actually, I'm going to make it up here. Okay, I'm going to make it right here because it's kind of going to be the same thing. Except for it's going to be render textured mesh instance. Alright, it's going to take in just a textured mesh, not the buffer. Camera, a point light, and it's also going to take in a U32 for total instances. So this is how many of them you're going to draw. We're going to set up the sampler. We're going to set up the instance vertex shader this time. Whoops. The same pixel shader, the same input layout. Set vertex buffers. We're going to set that one, but we're also going to set the other one that I'm going to make here. So set other buffer 2. I haven't set it up yet, so I'm not going to set it there. And then the index buffer is the same. The constants are the same. Camera view is the same. Pixel constants are the same. Update the sub resource. I don't need to iterate through anything. Don't need to do that. What is going on here? So set the texture mesh render vertex constants, model matrix. So I don't need to set the model matrix this time. Update sub resource, vertex constant, buffer, texture mesh, vertex constants. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that. I don't think I need to do that. Draw index instance. Alright, so I gotta put that TMB. Yeah, index counts. I'm gonna put total instances here. And then here I gotta put the offset, which is 0. And then that's index add-on, total offsets, index count. Okay, so let's see, I'm missing something for sure. Oh yeah. Texture. Okay, that compiled. Wow, I'm surprised. Okay, let me go back to setting up that buffer. Where? Here. Which is gonna hopefully be easy because it's very similar to this. Create buffer descriptor, byte width, bind flags. Yeah, I think everything's gonna be the same. Well, maybe the size will be different. In fact, yeah, I'll probably change that. I'll probably just do 1 megabyte for now, and then I can always change it. And then this will be index. No, instance. Uh-oh, something broke. That is because... Oh, I know what's going on. I should probably do this after the index buffer. Make sure I set this back to vertex buffer. And one more thing I believe I needed to do. Oh yeah, actually set the data for it. This buffer data. Okay. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just I'm I'm gonna just fill this buffer with some identity matrices right now, just to see if I can get anything rendering. So matrix for dat is equal to, let's cast it to a pointer for matrix 4, and then it'll be the temp storage buffer. And then, so I'll say that dat, actually I'll do this, dat at I is equal to matrix 4, just identity there, and that should be it. So I'm putting some data in that buffer to see if we can see anything that we render, and then so I think I'm ready to try this out. Let's try. So after I render the skybox, let's try this here. Probably get rid of this. Render textured mesh instance. That's going to take in mesh. Game state. Camera. And we're going to render 255 of these things. Cannot convert argument 2 from camera to camera pointer. That would make sense. Okay, so that's not working. That's taking a long time to crash. Wait a minute, I think I know what's going on. No, I don't. Oh yeah, I never set the other buffer. Set vertex buffers. So this is going to be start slot 1 this time. 1 buffer. The buffer, oh, right. Yeah. So I need the address of textured mesh renderer dot instance vertex buffer this time, and then I need the stride and the offset. So those are going to be some U32s, right? So the stride is, well, the offset's easy. Let me do that first. So offset is 0. Let me go ahead and throw that in there. Oh wait, hold on. There we go, that's what I meant. And then for this one, it's going to be equal to the size of a float times 4 times 4 times 16. All right, how's that fancy? Still freezing up here. Why? What if I comment everything here? Okay, so that's definitely what the problem is. Is it this line specifically? Yeah, so it's when I actually draw the thing here. Maybe total instances is too high. What if I just did 1? Nope. it's not happy. So the mesh takes in. You know what? I'm probably not even doing this right. You know what I just realized? Okay, yeah, so the mesh is working. I just wanted to test that. But here, I'm not actually specifying any position or anything. Oh, yeah, duh, I wouldn't have to, because it's done. Okay, so this here. So the index count per instance, which is the total instances, check. Start index location, that's the offset. Base vertex location. Start instance location. Yeah, no, that should be good. Should be what I got there. Something's not right. I just realized I'm doing the same kind of calculation twice. Who cares? Business matrix. So I'm not doing anything with the vertex constants. Let's see if taking that out does anything. No. So it's like not frozen per se. It's just, I mean, that's stupid. It is frozen. It's just not crashing. So my guess now is that it's something in the way I'm setting this up that is not quite right. I'm missing something. Instance vertex blob. Oh, you know, I'm setting. Wait, am I setting the wrong shader? Nope. Instance vertex shader. That's correct. Texture mesh input layout. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, that's the problem. I'm not updating the offset for each one. So yeah, this would be size of float times 4. Oh man, hopefully this is my only problem left here. Size of float times 8. Get rid of that 0. And then this will be size of float times 12. That should do it. Oh, it didn't do it. Oh no. But yeah, that definitely was a problem I was having, so I should consider that. Lucky I found that. Line this up here. And this is right? So no offset here, and then 4 floats, 8 floats, 12 floats. That is in the right spot, right? Input slot and then align byte offset. Yeah. So input slot and then align byte offset. And then yeah. Okay. So that's 32, G32, B32, A32 float. Okay, so that is still not working then. Why would that not be working? I don't know. But it's got to be something stupid. Getting something. So weird, because as soon as I comment this out, oops, it's fine, but it's obviously not going to render anything. But if I put that back, it won't render anything. What if I say total instances of 0? Nothing. Alright, so let's go back to that. Let's recompile. Let's do a debug run of tmb index count 2904 seems right. Index offset 0, index add-on seems fine with 0. Vertex buffer offset, total indices, total instances. Yeah, everything seems fine. At least not out of the ordinary to some absurd degree. I don't know. What could I be missing? So I got that. It's set up. I mean, it runs fine. It's just whenever I try to execute something here is the problem. Yeah, I don't know. When I spend this much time on it, it makes me think I'm not going to get it anytime soon. So I'm going to take a break and freshen my brain and then try again next time. So let me, in fact, I'm not going to save it because I didn't really do anything that spectacular. But once I get this working and cleaned up and looking good, then I will save it. But for that, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you. Bye.